Welcome to a spine-tingling adventure that's not for the faint of heart. You're about to embark on a journey into the dense, mysterious woods of the Pine Barrens, home to none other than the legendary Jersey Devil. This isn't just another hike or a casual bird-watching excursion. This is the real deal, where the line between natural and supernatural blurs with every step you take. The Pine Barrens of New Jersey, spanning over 1 million acres, is a vast playground for nature enthusiasts and cryptid hunters alike. But beneath the canopy of twisting pines and shadowed trails, rumors of a creature both bizarre and terrifying have persisted for centuries. The Jersey Devil, with its chilling scream, menacing wings, and eerie presence, has been the star of local folklore, fueling nightmares and curiosity across generations. Why focus on survival tips, you ask? Because if the tales are true, meeting the Jersey Devil is not a matter of if, but when. And when you do, it's best to be prepared. This guide isn't just about keeping you safe. It's about ensuring you enjoy the thrill without becoming the next headline in the missing hikers section of the local news. Throughout this series, you'll learn how to recognize the signs of the Jersey Devil's presence, secure your campsite, travel safely through its domain, and even what to do if you come face to face with the cryptid itself. From practical advice to ensuring your equipment is up to par, to the more nuanced tactics of maintaining silence to avoid detection, each tip will arm you with the knowledge needed to navigate these haunted woods. So grab your gear, keep your wits about you, and prepare to discover the truths hidden within the Pine Barrens. Whether you're a seasoned cryptid hunter or a curious newcomer, these survival tips will guide you through your quest to uncover the mysteries of the Jersey Devil. Let's dive into this eerie adventure, filled with caution and a dash of humor, because sometimes, laughter really is the best way to beat the fear. Tip 1. Know the territory. Alright, cryptid seekers, it's time to lace up your hiking boots and pack that mosquito repellent, because the Pine Barrens are not for the faint of heart. And that's before you factor in the Jersey Devil. If you're aiming to avoid becoming this winged nightmare's next snack, you need to know your territory like it's the back of your compass-toting hand. First up, let's be clear about one thing. The Pine Barrens is not your average walk in the woods. We're talking over 1 million acres of dense forest, swamps, and trails that lead nowhere. Perfect for a creature that knows its home turf better than a teenager navigating TikTok. You'll want a map, a compass, and maybe a personal Sherpa if you can afford it. Your phone's GPS won't cut it out here when the bars vanish faster than your sanity. Speaking of swamps, be ready for the terrain to change at a moment's notice. What starts as a pleasant dirt path can quickly turn into a mosquito-infested bog that'll swallow your boots faster than you can curse about your new mud shoes. Stay vigilant, and if the ground starts getting squishy, backtrack like you're reversing out of a bad relationship. And let's talk about the trees. The Pine Barrens are named for their pine trees. Duh. And they're more than happy to stretch their roots and branches to trip you up or block your view. Plus, the thick canopy overhead can make it seem like twilight even at noon, which is prime time for paranoia when you think the Jersey Devil's circling above like some kind of pissed-off bat. Be sure to pay attention to the local wildlife, or lack thereof. If the usual critters suddenly go silent and that deer you spotted bolts like it just saw the ghost of Christmas future, take note. Nature knows when to nope out, so follow suit and start moving back towards civilization. The Jersey Devil might be on the prowl, and there's no shame in taking the hint that it's time to skedaddle. Lastly, familiarize yourself with local landmarks like rivers, distinctive trees, and those creepy abandoned structures that look like set pieces from a horror film. If you're going to run, you'll want to aim for something recognizable where you can reorient yourself, not into the void where your scream will echo for miles. So, know the Pine Barrens better than your favorite horror podcast, or you'll find yourself hopelessly lost, listening to the wind in the trees while you pray it's just the breeze and not something with wings and hooves preparing to ruin your day. Tip 2. Recognize the signs. To my Pine Barrens explorers, strap in because this chapter's about recognizing when that rustling in the bushes isn't just the wind or your buddy sneaking off for an unauthorized bathroom break. It's time to identify the telltale signs that the Jersey Devil is close by and looking for dinner. If you want to avoid being the star ingredient in a cryptid casserole, listen up. First, let's talk about the unearthly screams. Imagine the worst sound you've ever heard. Nails on a chalkboard, a banshee wailing, or your ex ranting at 3 a.m. Now, mix them all together and crank up the volume until your brain begs you to shove in earplugs. That's the shriek of the Jersey Devil. If you hear this hellish howl, it's a sure sign that something winged and pissed off is circling above. Next, the tracks. Your standard woodland critters don't leave hoofprints that look like they were made by a goat on stilts. But the Jersey Devil isn't your average woodland creature. Look for cloven hoofprints or tracks that inexplicably start and stop without reason, like the beast flew up mid-stride to get a bird's-eye view of its next victim. That is, you. Pro tip: don't play detective too long. Snap a quick photo and get moving. Another sign is dead silence. The Pine Barrens are home to all kinds of chirping, rustling, and chittering creatures. But when the Jersey Devil is near, everything hushes up like nature's holding its breath. Birds stop singing, crickets quit chirping, and even the wind seems to whisper, "Get the hell out of here." If you find yourself in a pocket of absolute stillness, it's time to take nature's advice and start moving fast. Look up occasionally, too. The Jersey Devil might be lurking in the trees, its red eyes scanning the forest floor for its next meal. If you catch a glimpse of glowing red or the silhouette of something with wings and horns, congratulations, you've probably found the legendary beast. Now, congratulate yourself from a safe distance. Seriously, don't try to get a selfie. Finally, watch out for anything resembling a goat. The Jersey Devil is said to have the head of one, so if you find yourself face to face with an animal that bleats but also has wings, don't stick around to admire its eerie fashion sense. And definitely don't try to offer it snacks. It's more interested in your terror than your trail mix. In summary, if the screams, tracks, silence, glowing eyes, or winged goat creatures don't clue you in that the Jersey Devil is near, you're probably too close for comfort anyway. Recognize the signs, head in the opposite direction, and make sure your escape route is clearer than your newfound fear of the Pine Barrens. Tip 3. Nighttime is not your friend. Okay, cryptid adventurers, listen up, because here's a tip that should be a no-brainer. When you're in the Pine Barrens, don't treat nighttime like it's a cozy stargazing opportunity. Think of it less as evening leisure time and more like VIP hours for Jersey Devil hunting. When the sun dips below the trees and shadows start to stretch, it's time to haul your ass back to civilization. First off, let's talk about visibility. Out here, the moon might look romantic in the movies, but in reality, it's like a cheap nightlight that flickers just when you think you've spotted movement between the trees. And by movement, I mean the Jersey Devil flapping its leathery wings or hoofing it along the forest floor, looking for the perfect camper to scare senseless. The devil thrives in darkness, and you won't have a fighting chance when all you've got is a flashlight with dying batteries. Sound also gets extra creepy after dark. Every rustle and whisper will have you whipping your head around, only to realize it's just leaves blowing in the wind, or so you hope. Once the Jersey Devil starts its unholy shrieking, you'll find yourself regretting every horror movie you've ever laughed at. You thought you were tough, but your nerve will crumble faster than a stale cookie. And don't get me started on night vision. Your eyes will be playing tricks on you worse than a funhouse mirror. What looks like a harmless shrub could easily morph into a beast with wings that has no time for your Instagram feed. The Jersey Devil doesn't care if you're begging for one last selfie before it scoops you up like a clumsy forest snack. If you're camping overnight, bless your thrill-seeking soul, stick to the tried-and-true principles of less is more. Less wandering around aimlessly in the dark, more staying put and watching each other's backs. Seriously, this isn't a let's see who can scream the loudest contest. Stick close to the campfire, and if you must wander, go in pairs, so long as you're not the slower pair. And lastly, remember that night isn't your friend. If you hear the Jersey Devil howling or catch those glowing red eyes staring at you through the canopy, it's a good sign that your evening walk has turned into a survival horror flick. Your only goal now is to make it through till dawn when the Jersey Devil returns to its infernal abode, or whatever cryptids do at sunrise. So, in summary, avoid the Pine Barrens at night like it's an episode of Black Mirror. Stay vigilant, keep your campfire blazing, and make sure that flashlight is charged up like you're about to embark on the most terrifying night hike of your life. Tip 4. Secure your campsite. Pine Barrens campers, listen up, because if you're planning to camp in the Jersey Devil's backyard, you're going to need a campsite that says, "Move along, nothing to see here." More than, "Free snacks, right this way." Let's secure that tent with these tried and true strategies, ensuring you're not caught off guard by our horned cryptid friend. First, location matters. Pick a spot that offers clear visibility, away from cliffs, ledges, or dark, shadowy areas. It's not the time to cozy up next to a fog-shrouded swamp or near trees that could double as the Jersey Devil's dive-bombing platform. Look for a place with higher ground and natural barriers like rocky outcrops or dense brush. Next, reinforce your boundaries. Create a physical perimeter using anything you can find. Logs, stones, or even some hastily crafted wooden stakes. It's not a picket fence, but a simple boundary helps define your space and gives you a bit of psychological comfort. Add some sturdy paracord or a portable electric fence if you're feeling fancy. Let's talk lights. This isn't a time for romantic ambiance. The Jersey Devil loves lurking in the dark. Bring lanterns, string lights, and a good old flashlight with extra batteries. Position them strategically around the campsite to illuminate the surroundings, and keep a floodlight or two handy to flash directly at anything winged and hoofed that might peek into your tent. Have an early warning system in place. Setting up a few noisemakers like tin cans, bells, or motion-sensitive gadgets near your perimeter gives you a heads up when something's coming close. If the Jersey Devil's going to stalk your campsite, it'll at least have to navigate a chorus of chaotic noise first, buying you time to prepare or make your escape. Lastly, prepare your sleeping arrangements. Keep your valuables and food stored securely inside the tent to avoid tempting the Jersey Devil with your trail mix. Position your tent with the door facing the clearest exit path, ensuring that you can bolt if needed. And for added peace of mind, consider a sleeping bag with enough insulation to keep you snug while you wait out any spine-chilling shrieks. So, to recap, choose your site wisely, reinforce your boundaries, illuminate like it's the 4th of July, set up noisemakers, and sleep with one eye on the escape route. With this setup, you'll be in better shape to outwit the Jersey Devil, or at least survive the night without waking up to a pair of glowing red eyes. Tip 5. Travel in groups. Put your rugged individualism on hold because when it comes to the Jersey Devil, you don't want to go it alone. It's time to round up a group like you're recruiting for a heist movie. Only this time, you're stealing back your peace of mind. If you thought your camping buddy was just there to share the s'mores, think again. Here's why traveling in groups is essential. First up, there's safety in numbers. The Jersey Devil is less likely to swoop down and scoop up a group of determined campers who look like they're ready to form a defensive wall out of selfie sticks. If you're alone and start hearing something rustling in the trees, you might find yourself sprinting back to camp with your heart in your throat. But in a group, you can at least pretend to have the upper hand as you collectively freak out. A good team provides a built-in lookout system. While one person stokes the fire, another can scan the tree line for glowing red eyes, and the third can make sure the marshmallows don't burn. Divide responsibilities among your group so that no one is caught off guard while you're distracted by ghost stories or doing your best Jersey Devil impression to impress the newcomers. Traveling in groups also gives you better decision-making power. Alone, you might end up spiraling into paranoia the moment a branch snaps underfoot. But with a group, you can talk through strategies, keep each other calm, and decide when it's time to hightail it back to the nearest parking lot. It's easier to keep cool when your friend is just as freaked out as you are, but at least you can bond over the shared panic. Let's not forget that someone needs to stay in charge of navigating. The Pine Barrens are vast, and losing your bearings in this maze of trees is easier than mistaking your cousin snoring for a cryptid growl. Make sure at least one person has a decent map, not that crappy one from the gift shop, a compass, and ideally, a sense of direction. Lastly, traveling in groups gives you witnesses. If you do catch a glimpse of the Jersey Devil leaping through the trees or hear its unearthly scream echoing through the night, it's not just your word against the skeptics. A group of witnesses can compare notes and confirm that you weren't just tripping over your own fear of the dark. And there's nothing like solidarity when you're recounting your wild tale at the next cryptid convention. So, remember folks, this isn't a lone wolf operation. Round up a team that can watch each other's backs, navigate the maze, and confirm your story when the Jersey Devil shows up for a surprise visit. Stay together, stay alert, and maybe buy your buddies silence with extra s'mores if things get hairy. Tip 6. Keep noise to a minimum. When it comes to avoiding a run-in with the Jersey Devil, silence is golden. If you're the type who insists on narrating every single step like a reality TV contestant, it's time to zip it and let the forest do the talking. Cryptids have ears like satellite dishes and can probably hear your buddy's nervous breathing from half a mile away. Here's why you need to keep noise to a minimum if you want to stay off the Jersey Devil's radar. First, let's talk volume. You know that one friend who thinks it's hilarious to yell random ghost stories into the night, hoping to spook the group? Now's not the time for them to channel their inner ghost host. Save the scary stories for around the campfire. And if they insist on practicing their banshee scream, remind them that the Jersey Devil is less likely to join in on a sing-along and more likely to investigate the ruckus. Next, avoid bringing anything that clangs, clatters, or generally makes a spectacle of your presence. Leave those jingly keychains, noisy zippers, and rattling backpacks at home, and instead, pack gear that won't alert the entire Pine Barrens to your location. The last thing you need is to sound like a marching band stumbling through the underbrush when the Jersey Devil could be listening from above. Now, you're probably wondering about communicating with your group while staying quiet. It's time to practice some hand signals, or maybe even bring a whistle for nonverbal alerts. Picture it like you're in an army stealth mission. Stay low, keep hand gestures simple, and for the love of all things holy, don't trip over a twig while showing off your best ninja roll. Don't forget that food can also betray your location. If you're rustling through chip bags like you're on a snack treasure hunt, or opening soda cans with a hiss that echoes for miles, you're practically ringing the dinner bell for the Jersey Devil. Pre-package your food, or at least snack in moderation, so you're not giving yourself away with every crunchy bite. Finally, pay attention to the echoes. The Pine Barrens can have a weird way of bouncing sound around like a demented game of telephone, making it difficult to pinpoint where a scream or rustle originated. If you're too noisy, you won't hear the forest warning you about what's lurking up ahead or closing in behind you. Your best bet is to listen for anything that sounds out of place and adjust your route accordingly. So, pack light, communicate quietly, and for once, savor the sounds of nature without drowning them out. The Jersey Devil might have sharp ears, but if you keep things subtle, you stand a better chance of making it out without becoming the cryptid's late-night snack. Tip 7. Emergency supplies. If you think a simple walkie-talkie and a first aid kit have you prepared for a run-in with the Jersey Devil, you might as well wear a sign that says, "Eat me, I'm clueless." Venturing into the Pine Barrens requires an emergency kit that's less Boy Scout, more doomsday prepper. Let's pack your bag with the essentials that say, "I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum." First things first, include the obvious. Water, a flashlight, and a basic first aid kit. Because even if you dodge the devil, you can still trip over a root and scrape your knee like a chump. But don't stop there. This isn't a picnic. Every item in your pack should scream, "I'm here to survive a cryptid encounter," not, "I'm ready for a leisurely hike." Next up, include some less conventional items. Think silver-coated items, because folklore loves to harp on about the wonders of silver. It might not stop the Jersey Devil, but hey, if it turns out silver irritates its skin like an itchy sweater, you've bought yourself some escape time. Throw in a flare gun too, not just for signaling help, but for giving that winged beast a fiery surprise if it gets too close. Don't forget about protective gear. A sturdy jacket might not save you from being swooped up, but it'll handle the brambles and branches you'll encounter while fleeing through the underbrush. Also, consider some high-quality running shoes, because when it's go time, you don't want to be the guy tripping over his own laces. Now, let's talk tech. A GPS device is crucial because relying on your phone's spotty signal is like trusting a drunk friend with directions. They mean well, but you'll still end up lost. Make sure your GPS has a long-lasting battery, or better yet, bring a portable charger. The last thing you need is for your electronic lifeline to die just as you hear the infamous screech of the Jersey Devil in the distance. Lastly, pack some comfort items. No, not teddy bears and scented candles. Think energy bars, hot tea, or coffee in a thermos, and maybe a small bottle of something stronger to steady your nerves. You're dealing with a legendary monster, after all. A little liquid courage could make the difference between panicking and laughing in the face of danger. So there you have it, your emergency supply kit that's part bug-out bag, part mobile command center. With these items, you'll be ready to tackle the Pine Barrens and its infamous resident without looking like you're waiting for a rescue team to save you. Remember, in cryptid country, the best defense is a good, well-prepared offense. Tip 8. Know your escape routes. Look, I get it. When you're chasing the thrill of a cryptid sighting, planning an escape route might seem like the least exciting part. But if you want to avoid becoming the Jersey Devil's latest chew toy, you'd better have your exit strategy down pat before you step foot into the Pine Barrens. Treat this place like it's a twisted labyrinth designed by a sadistic game show host, and plot your escape like your life depends on it, because it does. First, familiarize yourself with the terrain. The Pine Barrens aren't your backyard. This place is massive. If you don't know where the nearest road, ranger station, or safe clearing is, you might as well kiss your happy ass goodbye. Download maps, use GPS, or even bring a good old-fashioned paper map so you're not left squinting at trees like you're on a vision quest. Once you've got a rough idea of the territory, start identifying multiple routes for a hasty retreat. Don't rely on just one trail. Anything from a fallen tree to the Jersey Devil's brunch plans can block your way. Have at least 2 or 3 paths that can get you back to safety with minimal obstacles. Remember, you're not just dodging roots and swamps. You're dodging a flying cryptid with a thirst for campers. Practice these escape routes like you're auditioning for a role in an action movie. I'm not saying you need to sprint down each path like Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible film, but make sure you can navigate them efficiently, day or night. Nothing ruins your get the hell out of here strategy faster than tripping over a root and going face first into the dirt. Don't forget to involve your group. Make sure everyone knows the escape routes and understands the signals to use if things get hairy. This isn't a finders keepers scenario where the last one out gets to brag about their survival instincts. You all need to make it out together, or at least with a decent head count. Lastly, keep your emergency gear within arm's reach at all times. If you've got to run, you won't have time to rummage through a packed tent or your car trunk for your bug-out bag. Keep it on your person or by your side so you can grab it in a heartbeat. Just don't overload it to the point where you're stuck waddling through the woods like a pack mule. So get your maps, gear, and group ready, and know your escape routes like they're your ticket to freedom. With a bit of luck and a lot of planning, you might just outrun the Jersey Devil and live to laugh about it around the campfire. Just don't forget to double-check those exits before you start taunting the trees. Tip 9. When to stand your ground. So, you've found yourself deep in the Pine Barrens, and despite your best efforts at stealth and speed, the Jersey Devil is on your tail. Now's not the time to panic, but you might be wondering if this is the moment to turn and fight, or to keep your legs pumping. Standing your ground against a cryptid isn't typically advised in your everyday survival guide, but hey, sometimes you've got to improvise. Here's the scoop. Generally, running like hell is a solid choice. But there are those rare adrenaline-pumping moments when turning tail might just invite a chase. If you've watched enough nature documentaries, you know predators can't resist a good pursuit. The Jersey Devil, with those massive wings and that terrifying screech, is no exception. First, assess the situation. Are you in a dense area with poor visibility? Are escape routes blocked or too far? If you're backed into a corner, it might be time to face the music. And by music, I mean the eerie, bone-chilling howls of New Jersey's finest nightmare. Make yourself as big as possible. Grab a branch, spread your jacket, and make every attempt to appear larger and more menacing than you feel. Next, make noise. Lots of it. The Jersey Devil might be many things, winged, terrifying, a literal freaking devil. But it's not deaf. Bang pots, yell like you're at the worst concert of your life, or even play some heavy metal from your phone. Anything to disrupt its predatory focus and maybe, just maybe, convince it you're more trouble than you're worth. But let's be clear, don't try to be a hero. This isn't a Hollywood movie where you deliver a killer one-liner before roundhouse kicking a cryptid into next week. Use defensive aggression as a deterrent, not an invitation to a duel. You're trying to buy time, not start a brawl with something that's a cross between a goat and a bat out of hell. Lastly, always keep an eye on your escape route. If your bluster does the trick and the Jersey Devil hesitates or backs off, that's your cue. Don't wait for a second invitation. Take your chance and get the hell out of Dodge. Remember, the goal isn't to win, it's to survive. In conclusion, knowing when to stand your ground versus when to hightail it can be the difference between a harrowing tale of survival and becoming local folklore. Evaluate your situation, make yourself big and loud, and always keep that escape route in mind. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is make a stand. Just make sure it's not your last stand. Tip 10. Document your experience. So you've braved the depths of the Pine Barrens, had a few close calls with the Jersey Devil, and maybe left behind a fair amount of sweat and expletives in the process. But now that you've lived to tell the tale, it's time to document your experience like you're a cryptid hunting journalist, ready to dish out the wildest story in Jersey folklore. First things first, bring your camera skills up to snuff. That blurry photo of some tree branches you swear were glowing red eyes? Yeah, no one's going to buy that. Get a camera with decent resolution, or use your phone on a tripod to capture any movement among the trees. Just make sure your lens is pointed in the right direction before you start filming like a cryptid paparazzo on speed. Audio is crucial. Record the sounds of the forest, especially those shrieks that make your hair stand on end. A high-quality mic can pick up those low, guttural growls that sound like a T-Rex auditioning for the next horror flick. If you're lucky, you might catch the Jersey Devil's infamous screams, and if you don't, at least you'll have a compilation of hilarious WTF was that moments. Keep a field journal of everything you saw and felt. I'm talking about the creepy shadows lurking behind your campfire, the odd hoof prints you found in the mud, and even the irrational urge to scream into the void when you thought the devil was breathing down your neck. Write it all down, so when the adrenaline wears off and the skeptics start poking holes in your tale, you've got a record. Don't be afraid to interview your fellow cryptid chasers. Their stories might fill in gaps you missed while you were hyperventilating into your sleeping bag. Plus, having multiple perspectives helps reinforce your account when you finally present your findings at the next cryptid convention or on a podcast where everyone's secretly hoping you were making it all up. Lastly, organize your evidence like you're preparing for a court case. Label photos, time, stamp videos, and keep a timeline of the events. Present your documentation with the kind of confidence reserved for those who genuinely believe in their outlandish stories. You might not convince everyone that the Jersey Devil is real, but you'll have a hell of a good time proving it. In the end, whether you're creating a YouTube series or writing the next bestseller, documenting your experience is as much about sharing the excitement as it is about preserving your legacy in the cryptid chasing world. And even if your camera never caught a glimpse of leathery wings and glowing eyes, you'll have one hell of a story to tell the next time someone doubts the legend of the Pine Barrens. Congratulations, cryptid hunters! If you've made it this far, you've survived the harrowing, shadow-filled journey through the Pine Barrens and lived to tell the tale. Whether you had a close encounter with the legendary Jersey Devil, or just had a few sleepless nights listening to suspicious rustling in the bushes, you've experienced firsthand the uneasy thrill that accompanies any venture into these eerie woods. While we hope the devilish cries and ominous hoofprints remain firmly in your imagination, it's always better to be overprepared than underpacked when dealing with folklore's greatest nightmare. You've learned how to recognize the signs, secure your campsite, and travel safely through the Pine Barrens. From mastering the art of knowing when to stand your ground to understanding the importance of a bug-out bag that says, "I'm not going down without a fight," you've armed yourself with practical survival skills. Most importantly, you've become a storyteller in your own right. armed with enough first-hand knowledge and documentation to either convince the skeptics or give them a run for their money. Whether you're recounting your adventures around the next campfire or preparing your debut on Cryptid Hunter Monthly, remember that each tip was designed to keep you alive, prepared, and ready to face the woods another day. So here's to your courage, your ability to keep your head on straight while tracking down one of America's most infamous creatures, and the fact that you now have an amazing story to share with family and friends. May your curiosity remain undiminished, your spirit unbroken, and your cryptid hunting adventures forever etched into Pine Barrens lore. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and may your path always lead you away from glowing red eyes. Thanks for joining us in the heart of the Pine Barrens, where survival isn't just an option, it's a way of life.